Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL eye test for Game Week 24. Wrapping up this weekend's matches, which were all the Game Week 24 matches apart from one. We still have Crystal Palace against Chelsea to go on Monday. I'll be talking about that in tomorrow's video, but in this video I'm going to talk about all the matches during this weekend, starting with Man City against Everton, which was the first match this weekend, and also the match where most people had their captain, meaning Erling Haaland, and he is back fully. Scored his first 2 goals since returning from injury, and just typical Haaland goals basically. First one was a shot in the box where the ball bounces to him. He just shoots it with his right on the volley, and I don't know any other striker who can get that much power from such a position, like such a weird position, that quickly with either leg. So Haaland is just amazing. Obviously, we know this already. He has some really, really good skills. The second goal was also sort of a typical Haaland goal. He ran forward, and Everton were at this point trying to attack to get the 1-1 draw. Kevin De Bruyne has the ball, and when Kevin De Bruyne has the ball and Haaland is running, you know usually it's going to end up with a goal for Man City, and that's what happened this time around as well. Jared Brantwaite, who actually had a really good game for most of the game, was just basically brushed aside by Haaland in the one-on-one duel between them. And Haaland, on his own against Pickford, just easily slotted it home for 2-0 for Man City. But this was not an easy game for Man City to score. Everton actually played pretty well defensively for most of the game, and Brantwaite had a pretty good game in general, apart from that one instance where Haaland made him look a little bit like a schoolboy. But in general, I think Brantwaite is just amazing, and there's a reason why he's in my FPL team, and there's a reason why he's always benched as well. And this time, for the first time in like 4 game weeks, he didn't punish me with some points on the bench. So yeah, that's all thanks to Haaland, who was my captain, scored 26 points in total, and that barely helped me at all in the rankings because most people in general have Haaland and captain him already. So if you didn't captain Haaland, kind of bad luck, I guess, or not bad luck, because you should probably captain Haaland. But there were reasons to not captain Haaland before the game, and I talked about that in my last video before the weekend as well, that yes, Everton are pretty good defensively, especially away from home this season. They're going to make things difficult for Man City. Yes, Man City could struggle to get things going. They have been sort of like a bit like stop and start lately. Like, they haven't been super good, but they haven't been like terrible either. They beat Brentford in the end, and then now they beat Everton in the end. But as always, even with the Man City struggles, even with Haaland being back and struggling a little bit himself and facing some tough opposition, the counter argument to that, like I said before this game week started, it's Man City and it's Haaland. We always expect them to do well, and that's what happened again in this game. So auto captain season is back, as it says there. Haaland is going to be the captain for the foreseeable future now. It seems like kind of boring, if you ask me. I kind of liked the fact that he was gone from the game a little bit, and we had to choose captains, and there were some like differential captains, and you could have gained a lot of points the last few game weeks without Haaland as captain, but now I think it's basically just Haaland or bust when it comes to captaincy. Maybe some weeks we'll have different options that work better, but in general, I think Haaland is just going to be the best captaincy option going forward, and this game sort of proved that. But again, Man City sort of had to wait towards the end of the match for everything to happen. They didn't really create too many chances at the start of the game. Everton did really well defending them, but as soon as they brought in Kevin De Bruyne and had basically all the attacking players on the pitch at the same time, Alvarez, Haaland, Doku even still played, Foden as well, and all those guys played at the same time, it's just too hard to stop them if you're trying to defend against them. So we've seen in the past that teams that actually try to attack Man City, like Brentford last season, were able to beat Man City. But if you're defending against Man City and then they have all those attacking talents on the pitch at the same time, it's really difficult to beat them. And that's what we saw again today. So City still title favorites. Haaland still captaincy favorite in pretty much every single game week, especially the next game week where he has a double game week against Chelsea and Brentford at home. Both those matches are at home, I think. And most people are going to triple captain him, and I think that's probably the right play. I'm probably going to do that myself as well, even though it is kind of boring to triple captain someone who's going to be triple captain by pretty much most people who have the triple captaincy chip left, at least. So Haaland, he's back for real, and there's no reason to doubt him anymore going forward. So auto captain Haaland going forward, and also a nice rest for Kevin De Bruyne, I guess. Didn't start this match, played only 30 minutes, but he still made an impact once again, had an assist once again. He's been getting assists every single game since he returned, and he's just that type of player. So he's definitely someone you'd like to have in your Game Week 25 team as well, in that double game week for Man City. And he's someone that I sold actually this game week, and I'm already regretting it. So So yeah, I did buy Jota though, who we'll get to pretty soon. Fulham against Bournemouth. This was an interesting game because we have a 4.5 million striker now in Rodrigo Muniz, who's been playing now with Raúl Jimenez out for about a month now, going forward at least, maybe even more than that. And Armando Broja has been brought in as the striker for Fulham, but he hasn't really gotten it going yet. He hasn't played that much for Chelsea, so he needs a little bit more time. But in their absence, Rodrigo Muniz has stepped up massively and scored 2 really nice striker type of goals against Bournemouth. 2 really nice goals, I think, from him. The first one, he sort of just gets in front of the Bournemouth defender and goalkeeper and sort of pokes it in. And then the second goal was a really nice back post run where he easily slots it home with a pretty neat finish as well. So he is an interesting option to look at going forward because Fulham do play in Game Week 29, which is the blank game week where a lot of players will miss their matches in that game week. And if you're someone who wants to play Game Week 29 just straight up without using a free hit, maybe even dead ending into Game Week 29 and then wildcarding in Game Week 30, then Rodrigo Muniz is the one to watch at least. But for now, I wouldn't be too sure about him starting going forward, but the last 2 matches he's been really fantastic as a striker, and if he keeps playing like this, there's no reason to bench him basically. But yeah, started this game. The first goal in this game was basically a major mess up by Bournemouth. Lewis Cook got the ball in his own box and basically just slid, let Deco have the ball, and Deco scored quite easily. And then Rodrigo Muniz scored a couple goals, but the one goal for Bournemouth was Senesi again, the centre back from Argentina. Corner into the box, and the Solanke just gets his head on it basically, and the ball goes backwards still in the box. And then Senesi does a brilliant thing of bringing the ball back himself, sort of going behind his body to bring the ball forward, and then the ball is hit straight into the goal. So Senesi is definitely someone to look out for Game Week 27 and 28, where Bournemouth have a double Game Week 28, and they also play Bournemouth away or Burnley away. Not Bournemouth, obviously. They play Burnley away in Game Week 27 before they have a double game week against Luton and Sheffield United at home. So Senesi, obviously on top of Solanke, would be interesting players to have for those game weeks. Solanke with an assist, so not too big of a damage for anyone that sold him or benched him, like it was in my case. But yeah, he could be a really interesting player going forward, even though they have some tough-ish fixtures at least now. They have a tough fixture in 26 against Man City. In 25, they play Newcastle, who keep conceding goals, as we'll get to pretty soon. But yeah, this game, they were just outclassed. Bournemouth, maybe they had that bit of a purple patch, and now they're sort of back to basics. They're still a pretty good team, but they're still like a mid-table team, basically. And same thing with Fulham. They're basically a mid-table team that can lose against anyone and win against anyone. And when their striker is playing well, like they did with Jimenez when they were really good a couple of weeks back, or about a month back, and now at Rodrigo Muniz as their striker, whenever their striker is playing well, they are playing well. And we saw that last season as well with Mitrovic, who left them, obviously. But yeah, Rodrigo Muniz might be his eventual replacement for the long term, because he looks really good and he's still pretty young as well and really cheap in FPL. So he's someone to make note of at least. Then we have Luton against Sheffield United, and this game was a game where we expected Luton to be really good at home because they've been really good at home lately. Sheffield United have not been good lately and lost 5-0 to Aston Villa the game week before. Luton just recently beat Brighton 4-0, so I at least expected Luton to be basically the masters of this game. But Sheffield United took the game to Luton in general, had a huge chance at 0-0 for Archer. He was through in the middle of the goal. Just shot it wide, really poor from Archer there. But then he redeemed himself just right after, a couple minutes after. He gets the ball in the wing, runs past Osho from Luton, basically steals the ball from him and finishes really nicely and scores a really nice goal. So yeah, nice goal for Sheffield United. And then we had some pretty weird, I don't know, I almost said disgusting penalties. 2 penalties, 1 for each team, which I guess is fair in the end. But both penalties were the type of penalty where a guy headers the ball, and then the defender trying to clear the ball has his arms up because he tries to header it backwards, and then the ball hits his arm when the ball comes from behind. And I don't know why this is given as a penalty still. It should just not be in the game, because there's no way you can have any control over what's happening behind your body, and obviously your hands are going to go up when you try to jump up for the ball. So yeah, I think these penalties are dumb, but hey, it gave points for anyone that has Carlton Morris, and whoever has can't even remember who scored for McAtee, actually, who's a pretty cheap midfielder for Sheffield United, 4.5 midfielder. Those guys got goals at least, so if you have them, congratulations. But for everyone else, kind of a poor sight to see, but at least both teams got one penalty each, so you can't really complain about that after the match if you're either manager, I guess, because both penalties were sort of the same and shouldn't have been given in my estimation, at least. Estupinian, I almost said estimation. Vinicius scored the final goal for Sheffield United, and that was it basically. 3-1 for them away against Luton. Huge win for Sheffield United. They're not going to be the worst team of all time in the Premier League. Probably not going to be the second worst team of all time when it comes to points either, but yeah, a rare win for them, and a rare home loss for Luton actually, which is kind of interesting to see. But the main talking about this game for Luton is the fact that Alfie Doughty had 9 key passes, meaning he had 9 passes that led to a shot for Luton, and he still didn't get a single assist from those passes. As you can see from the expected goal involvement, he is number 1 for Luton, number 2 in the match, just behind Archer, basically down to that Archer big miss chance that he had. But yeah, Doughty is looking still pretty good, but he only got 1 point from this game. Really disappointing for those like me who brought him in for a hit especially and benched Gabriel because of it. Yeah, not the best decision right there. But Doughty, he is still going to be pretty good going forward. He has a double game week in 25. It was a blanks in game week 26, but then he has a double game week again in game week 28 where he plays Bournemouth. And then the other game is Man United, I think. I can't remember exactly who they're playing in that game. But either way, he has a double game week both in game 25 and game 28. So he's still an interesting player to bring in. But yeah, if you are struggling with game 26 and you don't have enough players for that, then maybe wait for game 27 to bring in, or game 28 even, to bring in Doughty from Luton. And that's pretty much that from that game. Moving on to Liverpool against Burnley, and this is sort of the game we expected for this game week. 3-1 win for Liverpool, but it was kind of close because Burnley had a couple of really nice chances, and David Fofana has been amazing since he joined Burnley on loan from Chelsea. And once again, he played pretty well, but he just missed 2 really big chances to score, which could have made this game a lot more interesting when it comes to the scoreline. But Liverpool in the end were deserved winners, and all 3 of their striking trio scored basically in the absence of Salah. He is still out. Diogo Jota scored the first goal, a nice corner from Trent Alexander-Arnold, and the ball went over Trafford in the Burnley goal, who rushed out and basically missed the ball, and Jota was just easily able to header it home there for Liverpool. I think Trafford in general is someone that has gotten a lot of stick from Burnley fans. They do not seem to be happy with him. He was really good for England in the under-21 Euros in the summer, but as a Burnley goalkeeper, he just hasn't been good at all, and he's a big reason why they're struggling to keep a clean sheet basically. So yeah, not the best game for him, but for Liverpool, they took advantage of that. And even though Burnley did actually equalize before the half with Dara O'Shea, really nice corner goal from him, really nice header, one of the best headers I've seen this season basically, from at least that turned into a goal. So that was 1-1 for Burnley. But then second half, Trent Alexander-Arnold had to be subbed off at the half. There's an issue with his knee again. That's the issue, or that's the injury he had recently before he returned, and he struggled with it ever since he returned as well. And Klopp said after the game that he had a bit of an issue. He felt it at least, but he wanted to play on. But Klopp said, let's take him off because it's obviously still hurting him, because that's been the case for the past few game weeks. And now there are rumors that Trent might be out actually for 2 months, which is kind of interesting because especially in FPL, Liverpool obviously have a double game week now coming up in game week 25. And if Trent is out for 2 months, it seems like a pretty easy swap to go from him to Conor Bradley, who was amazing in his place while he was injured the last time. Obviously, we're still waiting for Conor Bradley to come back fully after the passing of his dad. Obviously, he's going to take the time that he needs to get back mentally in the right place to play. So we have to take that into consideration into this next week and see if we get any news about Trent Alexander-Arnold and his potential injury. Joe Gomez is still out with the flu, or was out with the flu for this game. Same with Alisson. A lot of people brought in Alisson this week, and he was out with the flu straight away in this game. So there's a bit of a virus going through Liverpool's squad, so we have to pay attention to this as well. So a lot of news we need to take notice of when it comes to Liverpool this week. But when it comes to Bradley, at least, Klopp said that he expects him to be back in training next week, but obviously that he will get the time that he needs to be fully mentally fit and ready to play again for Liverpool after his dad's passing. But back to the game. Liverpool took the lead. Harvey Elliott, who took over or came on for Trent Alexander-Arnold in the second half. Curtis Jones actually played right back, I think, for the second half for Liverpool without any other options to play there. But Harvey Elliott played really well and got 2 assists basically for For Liverpool, the first one was for Diaz. Kind of interesting situation here as well, where McAllister basically just hammers, was it Ramsey, I think, in the leg. And Ramsey he gets kicked like pretty hard in the leg, but he just no-sells it and does nothing out of it. I think if he would have gone to ground and like held his leg and pretended to be injured, I think that goal would have been disallowed. But since he just played on, the goal just basically stood after that, which was interesting. I don't really know if I think it should have been taken away or if it should have stood, because it looked really bad. And if he had fallen down and pretended to be injured, I would have bought it 100% because it looked like it hurt really badly, but he just played on, and I think that was to the detriment of his team. He tried to get a counterattack going, basically, but Burnley just lost the ball immediately. Harvey Elliott crossed it into the box, and Luis Diaz was there to slot it home as well. And then Elliott, again, had another really nice assist for Darwin Núñez, who finally scored for Liverpool. He had a couple chances, but he wasn't too involved at the start of the game, to be honest. But he got his goal in the end, and then after that, he was pretty instrumental to what Liverpool did. He had another big chance. I think it was Elliott again with the pass to Darwin, who came one-on-one through on goal with against Trafford. But he shot it straight at the goalkeeper and missed a big chance. And that looked to knock him out of the bonus point potential for this game in general. But then a couple hours after the deadline, he actually got some bonus points or BPS points back, and actually got one bonus point in the end with the same amount of BPS as Trafford to get one bonus point. And he basically just about edged out both Trent Alexander-Arnold and Jota for bonus points. Elliott as well was someone that was on lower BPS towards the end of the match, but then he got a huge plus in that regard after he completed 30 passes, I think. I think that sort of slotted it home for Elliott to get 2 bonus points. And to be fair, it's kind of deserved because he has 2 really nice assists and did a really huge impact on this game as a sub for Liverpool. But yeah, definitely pay attention to the Trent Alexander-Arnold injury news. It will be interesting to see if he's out for a long time or not, because yeah, it's a double game for Liverpool, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there for Liverpool, basically. Next game is Spurs against Brighton, and this was a pretty interesting game in general. Both teams could have easily won the game. Both teams didn't really impress too much, but at the same time impressed quite a bit. It's a bit difficult to completely explain this game, but as someone that doesn't have a single Spurs asset at this point, I'm pretty scared about not owning any of them. Maybe not so much Pedro Porro, because he just keeps conceding goals and he's just not that offensively minded. So I don't really regret saying that I wouldn't have him and selling him in my FPL team, and saying that most people shouldn't really be that. It shouldn't really be that important to have Pedro Porro. But when it comes to Richarlison, who I didn't bring in on my Walker and GW20, that's probably one of my biggest mistakes so far this season, because he just looks absolutely lethal, even in this game, or at least like really close to getting points. Even in this game, he was passed through on goal and missed in the first half. Second half, for basically the equalizer for Pape Sarr, he was just there to be passed to from Pape Sarr. But luckily for me, at least, and all of those of you who don't have Richarlison, Lewis Dunk came in the way and basically blocked the pass. The pass went back again. It hit the post and went back again to Sarr, who scored the goal and equalized for Spurs after Brighton had taken the lead in the first half. The Brighton goal was a penalty, and I'm not completely sure if it was a penalty or not. It seemed a bit dubious from my point of view. Basically, Mickey van de Ven tried to tackle the ball. He missed the ball, but it also sort of looked like he missed Welbeck as well. And Welbeck sort of stepped on Mickey van de Ven, but then the penalty was awarded anyway. So kind of a lucky penalty for Brighton there, who took the lead. But Spurs equalized. Welbeck actually had a pretty good chance earlier in the match as well. Just a really nice save from Vicario hindered him from scoring and then getting the assist on the penalty as well afterwards. But yeah, Spurs equalized after a really nice pass from Kulusevski, by the way, to Pape Sarr, who almost passed it in to Richarlison, who would have had a completely open goal if the pass would have made it through, if it wasn't for Lewis Dunk. They scored anyway, and then Son came on and just instantly made an impact. Brendan Johnson also came on, and he scored the winning goal when Richarlison passed it through to Son, who could have shot it himself, but passed it in perfectly to Johnson, who could easily score the winning goal in injury time. So another huge win for Spurs, and I think Spurs are going to kick on and be a really good team from this point on in the season. They're still suspect defensively, but offensively, they are just magical. I think Maddison also had a pretty good chance to score earlier in the game as well, and Maddison in his own right has a lot of potential in FPL. Obviously, Pedro Porro has taken set pieces away from him, so that's a bit of a detriment to Maddison's FPL appeal currently, but he's still such an amazing player. He's one of the best transfers this summer, and his injury was a major downer for Spurs, but now that he's back, and now that Son's back from Asian Cup as well, he came on in the second half because he was getting rested a bit after playing so many matches in the Asian Cup. With all those guys back, I think Spurs are going to score a lot of goals going forward. Obviously, they have the blank in Game 26 without having the double in 25, so it's not advisable to buy Spurs players at this point, but after Game 26, I think Spurs players will be pretty important until like Game 34, 33, when they have a couple of bad fixtures. But between Game 27 and about that time, 32, 33, 34, they have really, really good fixtures, so tripling up on Spurs at that point might be a good idea. They're also playing Game 29, which is obviously really important. So I think from Game 27, whether you're trying to free hits in Game 29 or not in Game 29, you need some Spurs players. And Son, I think, especially with him on penalties, everyone firing on all cylinders. Richarlison as well as a striker, he looks really amazing. Maddison looks good in his own right. Udogie and Pedro Porro, I guess, less so because they concede a lot of goals, but that might change in the future as well now that they are so dominant offensively. So it'll be interesting to watch Spurs going forward, but in the end, they got the win. Could have gone either way in this match, but Spurs had the winning goal after some pretty big Brighton chances earlier in the game as well. Ansu Fati almost scored. And on that note as well, Brighton are actually getting some players back. Mitoma was back for this game, played on the left. I think all their players are sort of coming back. Solly March, who has been amazing under De Zerbi, he's about to come back. Adingra is back healthy now as well, I think. And also Enciso, who we haven't seen all season, and we expected him to sort of have a breakout season this year. He's also coming back from injury pretty soon. Joe Pedro is still injured a couple weeks now, it seems like. And Ferguson, for some reason, is just still on the bench. I think a lot of people expected him to break out fully this season and then be sold for like 130 million in the summer, but he's been a pretty huge letdown this season. But maybe it's just because De Zerbi doesn't play him. I don't know. It seems like he needs more opportunities to play up front because, yeah, they don't really have any strikers apart from Welbeck now, who played pretty well, to be fair, but I think Ferguson deserves a chance. But Brighton have so many good attacking talents coming back now from injury that I think they're going to be a pretty good offensively team as well. Estepinian, once again, kind of disappointing game from him. Wasn't really close to getting anything, as you can see there. Pretty low non-penalty expected goal involvement for every Brighton player. But even then, Estepinian didn't make it in the top three either. So he's still playing pretty defensively. And I sold him this week personally. And I'm not really regretting it too much because I think he's just playing a more defensive position. And Brighton are still conceding a lot of goals. So yeah, make of that what you will. But that's the end of that game in terms of me talking about it at least. Then we have Wolves against Brentford, which was also an interesting result because I did expect Wolves to kick on after beating Chelsea away 4-2. I expected this to sort of be an easy win for them against Brentford, who have been struggling most of the season. But Brentford have had two things going for them the last few game weeks, and one of them is obviously Ivan Toney is back, and he's amazing. Scored another goal in this match. The 2-0 goal to basically seal the win for Brentford. And then in the other end, they have Mark Flecken, who's all of a sudden turned into the goalkeeper that he was in the Bundesliga, which was one of the better goalkeepers in the German league. First half of the season, he was really, really bad for Brentford, but now he's actually picked it up massively. He had a huge game against Man City with several great saves. He had 5 more saves in this game, and basically kept another clean sheet. So he's looking really good, especially seeing as Brentford don't really blank in the next upcoming fixtures. But Brentford do have some pretty tough fixtures at least, but in this game away to Wolves, which is usually a pretty tough fixture, they did pretty well and managed to win 2-0 in the end. First goal was a corner goal, a really nice corner, and Christian Nørgaard scored the opener. Again, I have to sort of put some question marks on the goalkeeper display from Jose Sa there. Basically stayed on his line and waited for the ball to come to him, but Nørgaard, or however you say it in Danish, Nørgaard, sort of got to the ball in front of him and scored. Sort of the same thing happened with Wolves later on in the game, where Pedro Neto, who is absolutely amazing still, again looked really good, had a perfect cross into the box, and Craig Dawson, as he usually does, ended up on the end of it and headered it home. But then with the VAR, we actually saw that he was slightly offside as the cross came in and the goal was disallowed. And then Brentford took the lead 2-0. Tony scored, but I think most of the plaudits for the goal goes to Jan Helt in the midfield for Brentford. He basically interrupted the ball from Wolves, trying to play out from the back. Had a really nice touch, sort of like a Ronaldo chop sort of touch as he received the ball. And then he had a nice pass to Tony, who just basically slotted it home like he usually does because he's a really good striker. So really impressive performance from Brentford in general. Mopai had had a pretty good chance himself, and Brentford looked pretty good in this game. The one thing they haven't mentioned about Wolves is the fact that Matheus Cunha was injured pretty early in the game. After about 20 minutes, he had to be taken off with an injury. So that's something you need to pay attention to, because he's been maybe Wolverhampton's best player this season, seeing as Neto has been injured for a while and Hwang Hee-chan has now been gone for Nation Cup. Hwang, just like Son, was not ready to start this game. But when he's back now for Wolves, he's going to be a huge plus as well, on top of Neto being there. And potentially if Cunha is back pretty early from his injury. Don't know quite yet the extent of the injury for Cunha, but it doesn't seem too serious, but maybe he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. We'll see about that. But if they're all three of them are back healthy and fit to play, I think Wolves will be really good. But in this game, clearly missed Cunha and clearly missed Hwang, who came on later on in the game, but didn't start the game at least for Wolves. So yeah, 2-0 loss here, which was kind of surprising, but Brentford are not a team to mess with currently because they are pretty good. They did lose to Man City last time around, but most people do. So I think Brentford are actually turning it around a little bit, but they do still have pretty tough matches up until game week 29, where they do play, and it is against Burnley. So for that game, especially on a free hit, you need to triple up on them. But I think they are interesting in general. Should also be mentioned the fact that the corner that was taken, that Nørgaard scored from, was taken by Reguilon, the left back for Brentford, who's currently 4.4 in FPL. So he's also someone for sure you can look at as a potential defensive player, because Brentford, the good thing about them is the fact that they have double game 25. They do play, but they also play in blank game week 26 and blank game week 29. So they're going to have more matches than pretty much everyone apart from Luton in that time frame. So they are pretty valuable, but they do have some tough matches. So maybe you should wait for Reguilon, but he does take corners, and he is a pretty offensively minded left back as well for Brentford, who are much better defensively now all of a sudden, with Flekken turning up and playing really well defensively. So yeah, interesting player to watch there in Flekken as well. Next up, we have the match between Nottingham Forest and Newcastle, and this was interesting because Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest 3-2, but if you look at the expected goals, Newcastle had 0.48. Compared to Nottingham Forest is 1.50, and if you also take into account the fact that Nottingham Forest was probably should have been getting a penalty when the score was 2-2, I think that tells you something about how Newcastle were pretty lucky in this game. But first goal was Bruno Guimaraes scoring for Newcastle. A really, really, really nice cross from Trippier, who is just absolutely fantastic when it comes to swinging the ball in. And he got another assist in this game from that pass. Brilliant pass to Bruno, who scored a really nice goal. Nice run from him at the back post. He was completely open and just slotted it home on the full volley for Newcastle. Then Nottingham Forest equalized with Anthony Elanga. He's super speedy, as we've seen all season, and he's been pretty effective this season in general. Him playing against Dan Burn is just bound to be an easy win for Elanga, as he showed in the equalizer for 1-1. Sprinted past Burn with ease while receiving the ball. I think it was from Gibbs White who passed the ball. And Elanga got to the ball first. Dubravka came out of his box actually and tried to save it, even though he couldn't save it with his hands. He tried to get out and basically make the angle as small as possible for Elanga, but he couldn't use his hands, so it was quite easy for Elanga to score that goal. So Nottingham Forest equalized, and then the match turned into 2-1 for Newcastle when Fabian Schär scored again, his third goal in 3 game weeks, I think. He's just a really, really good finisher of the ball, and once again slotted home a finish, a pretty nice finish, especially for a defender there, with Botman getting the assist. So basically all the defensive assets from Newcastle got points, apart from Burn and Dubravka, who have been pretty bad, I think, in general. I think they are really missing Nick Pope, Newcastle. I think that's part of the reason why they've been so bad defensively. And Dan Burn is just he just keeps getting like murked or slated or whatever word you want to use by opposing wingers because he's just too slow to play there. I still don't know why Livramento doesn't play left back every single game for Newcastle because he's been really good whenever he's gotten the chance. And Dan Burn is just, every single game week it seems like someone is just burning past him easily with pace because there's so many pacey wingers in the Premier League and Dan Burn just can't keep up with any of them. So that's kind of a letdown for Newcastle in general. Callum Hudson-Odoi equalised for 2-2 for Nottingham Forest, and then they should have had a penalty. Avani was passed through on goal. Basically a pass from the goalkeeper from Nottingham Forest. They got a new goalkeeper now, Mats Sells, I think, in the transfer window. He passes straight through to Avani, who's going to be a pretty good player, I think, going forward in FPL. And he was basically bodied a little bit by Botman. Slight push from Botman there. And then at the end, Dubravka also lifted up his hand to stop Avani from going through. But VAR checked it, didn't give a penalty. I think it's partly down to the fact that the ball was sort of going out, so it wasn't like a big chance, I guess. The ball would have gone out in the end. But Avani was definitely hindered by both Botman and Dubravka, not by a completely legal means either. So I think it should have been a penalty for Nottingham Forest, and that would have made the game completely different because that would have been 3-2 for Nottingham Forest most likely, rather than 3-2 to Newcastle, which ended up being the score. Bruno Guimaraes took the reins basically for Newcastle and scored a pretty nice long-range shot. So as you can see from the expected goal moment there, not much from Newcastle. They didn't really have many expected goals, but they did score. They did score their chances pretty nicely. And Nottingham Forest a little bit wasteful and didn't manage to get the win in the end. But I shouldn't say wasteful because they scored 2 goals from 1.50 or 1.5 expected goals. But yeah, they conceded some stupid goals to Newcastle, and Newcastle were winners in the end in that match. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that match. Moving on to West Ham against Newcastle, my favorite team, West Ham, and a team that I have said now for a couple of weeks that they are not going to be finishing around the same place that they have been lately, around 6th to 8th place. I think West Ham's season is sort of starting to crumble right now, especially with Lucas Paquetá out and also Mikel Antonio out for such a long time. Both those guys are probably back in a couple of weeks, but West Ham are sort of unraveling already. Their squad is a bit depleted with both Fornals and Benrahma leaving in the January transfer window. Calvin Phillips came in, but he is just not currently playing really well at all. And he's another midfielder. West Ham have already have Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, Soucek. All these guys who are pretty good in midfield. As I don't really understand the Calvin Phillips signing either. And in this game against Arsenal, they were basically just absolutely awful, especially from 30 minutes onwards. First half an hour of this game, it was actually pretty even. West Ham had some nice counter-attacking opportunities that they didn't take. They didn't create any big chances, obviously, because as you can see from the expected goals, 0.21 is just awful, and that's across the whole game. Basically, from 30 minutes onwards, Arsenal just completely took over the game. 2 set pieces, actually, they scored from from their first 3 goals. First goal was Saliba from a corner. Declan Rice, amazing corner, back at his own old home ground at West Ham. Really nice corner. Saliba slots it home, headers it home from the back post for Arsenal. Then Saka got a penalty, a really nice ball through to Saka, who was not offside because Vladimir Sufal was pretty much quite a lot behind the line. So pretty easy for Saka to run through there, and he got past Areola, got hindered by Areola, yellow card for Areola as well, and then Saka slotted home the penalty. Not the best penalty. He shot it where he always shoots it, low and to the right, but Areola hadn't done his homework, I guess, and went the other way. So Saka got the goal there. 3-0 was another set piece from Declan Rice. Fantastic ball in, and again, when you have Gabriel Magalhaes in the box there, it's always going to be a goal where you put the ball into the box like that. Also, just really bad from Ben Johnson from West Ham, because Arsenal basically lined up with 4 players just offside as soon as the ball was going to be put into the box. They were supposed to run back and get onside before they ran up the pitch again to score the goal. But what happened was that Ben Johnson, West Ham's former right back, I guess, who's now playing more offensively. He was played in midfield a couple weeks or a couple games back, and he's been playing on the wing the last 2 games. He basically just went back before the rest of the West Ham line and put every single Arsenal player onside and gave them just an easy opportunity to just stay closer to the goal than all the West Ham players without being offside because of Ben Johnson. Really bad from Ben Johnson this goal, especially seeing as he is a defender. Just really poor from him. I think he just didn't look at the ball and expected that the ball had been crossed in already, and that's why he sort of went back a bit too early and puts basically the goal on the plate for Arsenal to score, putting them all onside and giving Gabriel Magalhaes a chance to score. Then they scored 4-0. Leandro Trossard easily disposed of Kurt Zouma and scored. Zouma was subbed off at the half. 2 substitutions, both Zouma and Alvarez. Alvarez got a yellow card pretty early in this game for West Ham. Were both subbed off, and it sort of helped a little bit, I guess, because Arsenal didn't score that many goals in the second half, at least compared to the first half, but they still scored 2 more goals. Saka, another pretty easy goal from him, really nice goal from him, to be fair. Got a pass from Ødegaard, who got 2 assists in this game. And Saka, again, kind of like the Trossard goal, just easily went past, or not past, but sort of wrong-footed Agard in this instance, and scored a really nice low shot into the bottom corner, or close the near corner, I guess. And then Declan Rice, on his big night after 2 huge assists in the first half, scores again at the London Stadium, but this time in a different shirt, in that awful Arsenal shirt. Basically the ball was passed back from Ben White, and both Ødegaard and Trossard were sort of going for the ball at the same time, and both of them sort of let off the ball at the same time. They were kind of confused, and neither of them went to take the shots, and the ball just slid backwards to Rice, who just shot an absolute thunder bastard, as we like to say. Top bins, and obviously, as a classy guy himself, Declan Rice didn't celebrate against West Ham, but probably inside he was feeling pretty good about that goal, because it was a really nice goal and a really nice way for him to cap off another huge game from him for Arsenal. I think I've always been a huge Declan Rice fan. If you've been watching my videos for the past year or so now, I always sing his praises, and now most other people are singing his praises as well, because he's well worth £100 million. A huge asset to Arsenal, and he showed that again in this game. And West Ham fans, we do all miss him. Even those that booed him today, the boos are mostly down to the fact that we're just sad that he's not with the club anymore, because he was just an amazing player and deserves all the plaudits in the world, I think, personally. I would have been one of those. If I was at the game, I would have been one of those at the end of the match who clapped him off, because I think he just deserves it. He's been a loyal servant to West Ham, and he's now a really good player. Got West Ham £100 million that West Ham used wisely as well, getting Alvarez, Ward-Prowse and Kudus from that money. And he deserves the plaudits, I guess. But West Ham do not. Most supporters for West Ham had left the match by the time the match had ended. And not really that surprising, considering they were down 4-0 at the half and then conceded not too early, or pretty early in the second half as well, to make it 5-0. The biggest loss for West Ham to Arsenal ever, and just a huge result from Arsenal. As bad as West Ham were, Arsenal were absolutely fantastic, and they have been looking a lot better lately. Beat Liverpool last time around 3-1, should have been probably more as well, because they just completely dominated Liverpool, who are still a really good team. We've seen Liverpool before and after that Arsenal game be really good, especially offensively, but Arsenal just massive defensively and offensively as well. They're scoring goals at will now. Saka's looking much better. Martinelli's looking better as well, even though he didn't get any goal returns this game. He looks really good, and Arsenal are just on a really good path currently, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting fight for the league title. Man City still are the favorites, obviously, but I think Arsenal, especially seeing as how young players they have, I think they're going to be a really good team for the next 4, 5, 6 years, and I think they're going to win the title in the next 3 years, maybe even this year already, but I think City are still the title favorites. But huge game from Arsenal, really poor game from West Ham. We'll see what happens with West Ham and David Moyes. He was about to get a contract extension a couple weeks ago, and now with a couple bad results now, it's not looking as likely. Personally, as a West Ham fan, I'm hoping that he stays until the summer, and then West Ham go for another manager to take them even higher. But David Moyes has been fantastic for West Ham, so hats off to him, but also maybe time to pack your bags as well at the end of the season. Final game of the game week was Aston Villa against Man United, and once again, Man United came out on top. Aston Villa have been so good at home this whole season, but again, they lost this time around against Man United. Rasmus Højlund again scored for what feels like the 4th or 5th game in a row for Højlund. He's just been amazing lately. Pretty poor from Watkins actually on the goal. He let Højlund be onside basically because he was behind the defensive line. Watkins, he made sure that Højlund was onside, and after Maguire had headed the corner back into the path of Højlund, he managed to score. Earlier on in the season, it seemed like Højlund would just always hit the goalkeeper on these finishes, but this time the ball went in. Everything's going his way, it seems like currently, and once again, another good performance from Højlund this match. Aston Villa did equalize though with Douglas Luiz later on in the match, and he celebrated, and we thought Aston Villa would take over there and win the game at that point. But Man United turned it around again and scored the 2-1 winner with McTominay. Really nicely worked goal. The ball went up to Kobe Manu, who had some pretty nice touches there, passed it back. The ball was passed back to Diogo Dalot, who had a brilliant cross to McTominay, who easily headed it home. He didn't score his chance a couple game weeks back when I had Garnacho playing, and he could have had an assist towards the end of the match, but ever since then he's been scoring for Man United, and he scored another huge winner for them, 2-1. Amazing game for Man United, amazing result, I should say, for Man United. They didn't play too well. They easily could have lost this game, as you can see from the expected goals. 2.5 for Aston Villa, 1.8 for Man United. But they did again eke out a 2-1 win. I don't know. I really wonder how many 2-1 wins they have this season, because it seems like every single game they managed to do this. But yeah, it wasn't too unfair, I guess, either. But Aston Villa easily could have had a lot more goals. Watkins especially. Anyone that sold him in FPL for this game week and brought in Darwin should feel really lucky, because maybe not because Darwin was actually really good in his game, but anyone that sold Watkins should be lucky by the fact that they sold him and he didn't punish them more. He only got 2 points, obviously, didn't get a goal, didn't get an assist, but he easily could have had an assist for McGinn on the shot from McGinn, where it was really nice save from Onana. Onana actually had a pretty good game this game week. He couldn't do anything about the Aston Villa goal, but he had some pretty nice saves apart from that. McGinn could have scored from a Watkins assist. Watkins had 2 more huge chances, or pretty good chances at least, where it easily could have gone in, but the shot went straight at Onana basically both times. So I think Watkins easily could have had 2 goals and an assist from this game, but he ended up with nothing. Only 2 points, so bad luck for anyone with him still in their team. Anyone with Douglas Luiz in their team still, or throughout the season, have been pretty happy, because he's been a really cheap player, and he was in the box in danger positions several times this game as well, as you can see from the expected goal involvement. 0.8 non-penalty expected goal involvement, and we know he's on penalties as well. So seeing as Aston Villa play in Game Week 29, which is a game week that a lot of people are targeting now, or targeting players from now, he is actually a really nice midfield option for still a pretty cheap price, because he keeps delivering and scored another goal this time and can score even more in the future. But Watkins is the same. I think you should try to look to bring him back into the team, because yeah, he still looks really like on it for Aston Villa, and he's always there where the chances are. Aston Villa are still a really good offensive team at least, but defensively they've started to struggle a bit more now, especially with the injuries. Konsa's out for a while. Pau Torres has been injured for a while now as well. Digne actually came back for this game, but yeah, Moreno has been playing left back for them. But yeah, defensively, Aston Villa have struggled a little bit. Offensively, they've created a lot of chances, but they just can't convert them all the time. They had that massive final win against Sheffield Utd, obviously, where basically everything went in. But in this game, just couldn't convert their chances. I mean, United did, so that ended up being the winning formula, I guess, for Man United, that they were a bit more effective than their opposition. But 3rd win in a row for Ten Hag's Man United, and they look a lot better now, especially with Højlund actually delivering up front. They have players more back fit now. Luke Shaw actually had to be subbed off pretty early in the second half, or in the half, potentially even as well, with Lindelof coming in. So he's going to be a big miss if he's going to be out again, injured. But Dalot has been playing right back. He's been amazing. I think he's someone to watch in FPL as well, especially if you're like me and you're free hitting in 29. Man United might still blank in 29 actually if they lose to Nottingham Forest in the cup, which is quite likely. The Man United play Sheffield United in Game Week 29, so that's something to keep note of as well. And Diogo Dalot, I think, is someone that is interesting for Man United's defense, because offensively he's pretty good. Defensively, we've seen Man United keep a lot of clean sheets this season. They could still do that as well. And Maguire obviously got the assist here in this game as well, and it's also someone to pay attention to with Lisandro Martinez out for a little while now. It seems like Maguire and Varane is going to be the centre-back pairing for them. So yeah, keep note of the Man United players. Garnacho as well, once again, looked pretty good in this game. Had a couple nice chances to shoot. One that went just outside the post, and the other that was a bit too weak to really make it difficult for Martinez in the Aston Villa goal. But there are some really standout Man United options, and they are not named Bruno Fernandes or Rashford. You can see Bruno Fernandes with 0.63 non-penalty expected goal moment, so he's not the worst. But for the price, I think you should stay away from Rashford and Fernandes. But if they turn it on as well, because Man United could get so much more from those two players. If those two guys turn it on as well, with Højlund playing really well, Garnacho playing really well, Kobe Mainoo has been really amazing in the midfield for Man United, and their fullbacks being better as well now, with Shaw potentially back healthy if he's still fit, and Dalot being healthy. He could even play left back and Wan-Bissaka right back if Shaw is out. I do think Man United are actually onto something now, and they are a team to pay attention to, especially if they go out of the cup against Nottingham Forest and they play in Game Week 29. I think that would be really interesting for your future plans in FPL. But yeah, with that, I'm going to end this video, I guess, as well. But before you go, speaking of future plans, tomorrow I'm going to make a video where I look through some of you guys' teams and basically plan for the future, how you navigate double game week 25, blank game week 26, and then the game weeks leading up to blank game week 29, and then potentially beyond that as well if you want a wildcard or if you want to do something else. I'm going to take a look at some of you guys' teams. Some of you guys have sent me your team IDs, and I'm going to check out your teams and see what I would do in your position. So yeah, there's still time if any of you guys want to have your team sort of not rated, I guess, but like sort of get a guide for how to do things the next few weeks, or at least not a guide, I guess, but a suggestion for me on how to sort things out for the next few game weeks when it comes to chips, when it comes to players in and out, and all that stuff. Then leave your team IDs in the comment section down below. So with that, I'll leave you with this video. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I hope you enjoy the game between Crystal Palace and Chelsea tomorrow. Hopefully I get some Gusto and Palmer points, because I really needed this game week. But yeah, that's it for now for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.